Have you ever felt stuck in a creative rut, desperately searching for that spark of inspiration? Whether you're an entrepreneur or an artist or just somebody that is looking to inject more creativity into your daily life, you're in the right place. In today's episode, we're diving into the 10 tips to boost your creativity. And I welcome into the studio today, Evan Cholfin. Evan is the CEO and founder of Luxhammer. He creates and produces unforgettable film and TV and branded entertainment that helps brands make powerful and lasting connections with their audiences, reaching over a billion people. And that is a billion with a B. That's pretty impressive. He has spent the last 2 decades developing, packaging, selling, and producing film and TV. Evan has worked on beloved projects, including the Academy Award-winning nominated films The Irishman, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and Moneyball, as well as the Emmy-winning series The Night Of on HBO. An avid genre fan, his most recent projects include film and TV adaptations of Sega video games, where he partnered with top-tier filmmakers. Evan has been featured in over 3,000 publications, including Variety, The Hollywood Reporter, Yahoo Finance, and Adweek. Welcome, Evan.
Thank you. That's an amazing introduction. I appreciate it.
You are an amazing individual. I mean, all of that is so much. Like, where did you get started? Like, where did all of this begin?
Well, with my dad's video camera, my Legos, and I made stop motion movies when I was 5 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
And all of that led you to where you are today.
That's right. And here I am.
And here you are. Well, that's pretty impressive. I have seen The Irishman. I have not seen The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, but I have seen Moneyball. It's very cool. So I want to talk with you today about specifically 10 things that people can do, 10 tips that people can utilize to be more creative. On an everyday basis, we're needing to be creative in many different aspects of our lives. And sometimes our creative juices are just gone. We've worked ourselves into a tither and we're like, I can't create anything. I don't know where to begin. So I thought it would be amazing to have you share with our audience 10 tips that you suggest to them that they can use to be more creative, because obviously you're very creative.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to share. The first one I always tell people is keep your day job. I say that because it's really important to keep a base. Whenever you're being creative, it's important to have that level where you don't have to worry, you don't have to struggle so much. You can just build from there. And everybody, even the most successful creative people, all have their day jobs. I tell my management clients that the great documentarian Errol Morris, who has won Oscars for The Thin Blue Line and The Fog of War, that his day job is directing KFC commercials. So it goes hand in hand that, it's a good idea. The second thing that I like to say is to step outside your comfort zone. Don't be afraid to try something new. It's when you step outside your comfort zone, that's when you really grow. And when I was tasked, this was a little while back, when I was a creative director for a campaign for Japan Airlines, we had to really think outside the box to come up with an idea to attract business travelers, to really raise awareness about the airline, which they had said that they had zero awareness outside of Japan. And I came up with an idea, and I knew I wanted to create this global artwork, and I didn't know exactly how, so I did a bunch of research, and I came across this artist named Yasan, who is a GPS artist. And this was
Oh, what is that?
totally new to me.
What is a GPS artist?
So a GPS artist is someone, what he did, I'll explain it by how he did it. He traveled all across, before our campaign, by foot, by train, by bus, however he could, tracked his GPS data, uploaded it to Google Maps, and it spelled out the words "marry me" across all of Japan.
Oh my
And
gosh.
that's how he proposed to his girlfriend at the time.
That is
which is
crazy.
Yeah, and he put
Oh,
everyone else who proposed anything, to anyone to shame.
I would think so. That is crazy. But,
Yeah,
not outside the box, right?
yeah,
Something
exactly. So fortunately, she said yes. So
that
cut
wasn't
to
all for naught.
cut to a couple of years later, and we were able to give him an opportunity to travel to break the world record that he set 14 times over by traveling to 19 cities across 6 continents. And he would fly to each spot and meet people in each city, and they would basically push the button on his iPhone and it would activate the next leg of his journey. And as he flew, it tracked the GPS data. And so he not only met all of these people, but they helped him to create this global artwork, and it literally spelled out the word peace. And so the campaign was Peace on Earth that he created. And we, it was something that we were told, this is a crazy idea. There's so many things that could go wrong. And it was certainly a challenge, but we pushed through and definitely stepped outside our comfort zone to create something, and we were very happy with the result.
Well, I think it's so apropos because a lot of business owners are afraid to do that. They're afraid just because no one's tried this before, that if they try it and it doesn't work, they're going to look like a failure. And then, everybody's going to think less of me. We get in our own head and in our own way. Whereas if we just embraced it and went, screw it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I've learned something from it. Failure is never final. It's always you're learning something from it. I call it hiccuping. You had a hiccup, but you learned from it, right?
Absolutely. And then the client got about 3,000 images and 3,000 hours worth of footage, and we were able to give them this, cut it down to a 5-minute highlight reel and holiday card that people could send out during the holidays. So
that's cool.
Yeah, it was something that I'm still very proud of.
That's lot of hours, though. A lot of hours that you had to condense into a very short.
Yeah, our documentary team that followed Yasan did an incredible job. And shout out to Mark Apicella for doing an incredible job directing that. They went around the world with Yasan. And the next tip would be curious. I like to say combining 2 disparate ideas, or really as many ideas into one, is really the basis of creativity. And so exploring the world, that could be through books, by travel, going to nature, watching lots of movies or TV shows, dance, sports, science journals, historical accounts. You can really kind of, as you educate yourself, you can stimulate your creative mind. The more that you dive in and the more that you understand the world and what makes it tick, I think that helps you see things through a different lens and allows you to expand your mind and be more creative.
And it's always be learning mentality, because there's so much that can be learned in the everyday mundane things that are happening around you. And if you're not paying attention, they'll pass you by, and they're great opportunities that you could potentially use for something. but we have to be aware of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I would say the next one is really important, I think, for people is making a creative habit. And what that basically means is taking time and space to each day work on whatever creative thing that you're working on. So that could be getting up early in the morning, taking half hour or an hour, whatever it is, and working on that thing, whatever it is that you're trying to be creative with, when you have no distractions, when you can really concentrate on it. And what's great about it is it's like exercise, and it's hard at first sometimes, but as you do it, it's like exercising that muscle, and you get better and better at it. And then the more that you do it, the more creative you actually become.
Right.
So it's important to give yourself that time and that space to do it.
I'm curious for you, what do you find is your most creative time during the day?
For me, it's definitely right after I wake up. I think it's a time when I've woken up from dreams, and I might still have a dream or an idea that I'm coming off of.
Yeah.
And, especially when it comes to writing, or when coming up with an idea, and I want to just get it down on the page.
Sure.
It's really helpful to just do it then, and there's no distractions at all, which is great, before I start getting phone calls and
Right.
all the things that come with life.
Do you keep that pad of note or that notepad by your desk or by your bedside with a pen? So if you wake up
I don't do that, but I do take a lot of notes on my phone.
Okay.
My phone is my notepad.
I'm old school. I'm pen and paper.
Yeah. I type faster than I write now, so it helps me.
I totally agree with that. You have to find the time during the day that works for you to really, when your creative juices are flowing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see every day? Do you feel like every day you do that? Or is it just when you feel like it? I mean, it kind of goes to the habit of.
Yeah, I try to adhere to the creative habit, and try to do something creative each day. When I'm working, especially when I'm working on a project, it's really important that I do that. Or if I'm working on a column, I might, get up early and work on that. So it just depends.
Okay. Well, that's awesome. That was
Yeah.
that was tip number 4. I can't wait to hear tip 5.
Rolling through. So number 5, I say find your key. So it's really, creativity obviously can be really challenging, and finding your key, it's really about forcing yourself to open up areas of your mind that might be locked away. So when you get stuck, it allows you to get unstuck. So it's really about finding your reason why. So if you're telling a story, for example, or you're writing a script, or you're working on a project, or you have a company, you have to have your reason why.
Right.
And that reason why is the single thing that keeps you going. And finding that thing is so important to unlock. And it will tell you every decision that you have to make throughout the entire process. It will guide you. I think it's key. It's your key.
I love that, because it really helps you understand, it's the unlocking of that proverbial why. Why am I doing all of this?
Yeah.
Do you have any tips for that? Like how you find your why?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think everybody kind of comes to their own why through who they are as a person and what their morals are, what their message is, what they're trying to say, what they're trying to do in the world. It can come from so many different places, but it really tends to be something internal that it drives that person and gives, if it's a company, for example, you it has to be that thing that gets you to wake up in the morning and be excited about working for, if you're an entrepreneur, it's hard to be an entrepreneur, but it gets you excited to work on what you do. So it has to come from something internal, I think.
What ignites you, essentially. Yeah. The fire in the belly, what makes you feel that feeling.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I love the analogy of finding your key. That's great. That's awesome.
Yeah, the next one, it relates to writing, but it also, I think, relates to any kind of project that you might be working on. I call it writing the vomit draft. And so the idea,
the vomit draft.
Yes.
Okay.
So the idea is to, it's the idea to get it all out on the page, because what we tend to do is our analytical mind loves to just immediately filter and start to analyze anything that we're working on. So you have to let your creative side get it out all unfiltered and raw, and finish it unfiltered and raw before you start analyzing it, before you start breaking it down. That's all for the second draft. So it's really important to give your creative mind the space to create first, and then do your analysis and, actually go through and think critically and assess it.
And that's honestly such great advice for anything. Like you said, it doesn't have to just pertain to writing, because how many times do we as entrepreneurs have an idea, right? And we sit here and analyze it until we analyze ourselves out of doing whatever that is. And if we just put it on paper and then come back to it, maybe there's going to be something else in there that speaks to us that we didn't see before, or that we go, oh yeah, that still wasn't a good idea.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it can allow you to explore, like you're saying, new possibilities that you may not have thought of, which is the whole point of creativity.
But it just gets it out there. It gets it out of your body, your head. You're just like, I need to get this on paper. I have felt that myself. And I feel so much better when it's actually on paper, not on my phone, but on paper.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
There. Yeah. That's great.
And then it's really important, of course, to get creative feedback. So, we don't live in a vacuum unless you're in space. So, getting feedback is essential from people that are close to you, people that you work with, tend to be helpful, getting that outside perspective, help you to catch things you may have missed, things that might be quote unquote bumping or not working for them. And there's testing in the marketplace. There's different ways to have peer review, but getting that feedback is also really essential, because it just makes what you do stronger.
Right. Have you ever, or how do you feel about getting feedback from people that are not in your industry or not one of your peers? Is it beneficial?
Yeah, it definitely can be, because sometimes when people are not in my field in particular, like I work with clients all the time where they don't do exactly what I do, but they might, have a feeling about something, or they might have an opinion about something. It actually it gives a clue about what there might be something around what they're commenting on that needs to be fixed.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes there's, if there's something bumping for them, then, oh, maybe we should take a look at it, because there might be something that maybe it's not the exact thing they're talking
Mm-hmm.
about, but there could be something around it. And then some people are just really astute, because the truth is that we live in a world where so many people consume media that,
Right. Yeah,
it's
that's
pretty
so true.
amazing
Yeah.
how people notice, stuff, and are very media savvy. So
It's
that's
funny
always
that you
nice
say
too.
that. It's funny that you say that because my daughter, who's in college, I was filming a bunch of stuff on my phone one day and she saw me doing it and she's like, "What are you doing?" And I told her and she's like, "That's cringy." Like, that's what people did a year ago, whatever it was I was doing. And I'm like, really? Because she watches TikTok and Instagram and she consumes a lot of stuff on YouTube and everywhere. So she's up on what's going on right now, whereas apparently I'm not.
Yeah,
But it makes
absolutely.
sense. Everybody has it on their phones. And,
Yeah.
they go to bed with us at night, they wake up with it. So that makes sense.
Yep. It's easy to be cringy.
Apparently I am. Watch for more cringy videos coming soon.
That's right.
I might have to send them over to you and you can tell me. You could be like, yeah,
That's funny.
hot.
Yeah. So along those lines, it's always good to have to find mentors and mentees.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't stress enough how important it is to find not just one mentor, but many. And
Mm-hmm.
mentors can be not, we always have the stereotypical
Right.
older person who's been in the field a long
Yeah.
time, who's done the thing. But the truth is, they could be younger,
Mm-hmm.
or they could be your peer, and your kids can actually mentor you in things that you may not know about. It's amazing how much you can learn from other people. So it's always good to have lots of people who can to quote unquote mentor you. And um, I think the best mentorships are the ones where you set a goal, and you set that goal and you actually achieve it, and then you
Mm-hmm.
tell your mentor, hey, I actually achieved that goal, because then it makes them feel like they did something, that
Of
they
course.
that you've actually accomplished something. And
Right.
because that's really what most mentors are in it for. They're not in it for
Right.
anything else other than, wow, I actually gave some advice and it helped.
Right.
That's exciting to them. So also obviously having mentees is really
Mm-hmm.
important, because you're sharpening and honing your craft at anything that you do, and you're passing it along to the next generation,
Right.
which is good.
And I love the whole mentee mentor thing because you give out what you're going to get back as well. And, that's so important. But also, you know, like you mentioned, having a mentor that maybe is that untraditional mentor, maybe someone younger than you are, is very beneficial. I have a few in my life that I have learned a lot from because we can be stuck in I don't want to say stuck in our ways, but we can be stuck in a rut with this is how I've always done it. But then somebody younger or newer in your industry comes in and is like, well, this is a solution that we found and it's worked better for us. And it kind of, oh, wow. Yeah, you're right. It helps. So it doesn't matter age or anything like that. It's just who you find that you align with and who understands you. And, it has to be a good relationship to really play off of each other. But it's mentees and mentors are very important.
Yeah, definitely. And then the next one, I'd like to say that rejections cost nothing. And
Yeah.
really, when you're getting your work out there, you could be turned down 1,000 times before you get that one yes. And I know personally I have, and I think that's the truth is that one yes is what really matters. And so it's okay to get those rejections. And of course, sometimes it does sting and, but you go through those, but then you learn that, it's not that big of a deal. It's okay. Not everyone, you don't need everyone to say yes. And whatever you're doing, you just need, that one really important one. It's funny. Back when I'm thinking about The Irishman, and it took nearly a decade to get made, and that was a gangster movie with Martin Scorsese directing. Right after he did The Departed, had Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Joe Pesci attached. Written by Steve Zalian right after he did American Gangster, and all Academy Award winners, and sat on the shelf at Paramount until Netflix picked it up. And
isn't it crazy?
It's amazing that it took that long, but that's, just acknowledging those rejections and let that fuel you to continue on, I think is really important.
Is that how you deal with rejection?
Yeah. I think that, you take each one and kind of let that fuel you, and that makes, or let it roll off your back. It depends on what it is. Some are no big deal at all, and some things are kind of like, oh wow, I really spent a lot of time on that.
Yeah.
But you just kind of lick your wounds a little bit and then let it fuel you for your next opportunity.
Do you ever go into it with the mentality that, well, that wasn't for me, or it wasn't for me at the time?
Yeah, sometimes it's interesting when you think about it in retrospect. You think about, timing can also be really important too, and sometimes the timing does play a big factor in terms of your success. And sometimes I think most of the time it has very little to do with you and a lot to do with luck. I think it was actually Scorsese, speaking of, that said that he owes 80% of his career to luck. So that's, pretty incredible filmmaker saying that.
100%. Wow. Had a lot of good luck.
Yeah. And then the last one that I wanted to share is that they want you to succeed. And, if you're presenting any kind of creative work or idea and someone's granted you that opportunity, just remember that they want it to be the best pitch they've ever heard. They want it to be the thing they take to their boss or they green light in the room. They want it to be something that is going to be the next sliced bread. they because it's just going to make them look good too. And so when you go in with that kind of approach, then you don't look at them as you're not scared going in, because they're on your side.
it brings that scare factor down a little bit.
Yeah.
It tempers it. Because you
Exactly.
sometimes walk into a room and you have to present something and you're like, oh my gosh, these are all really like, in your world, A-listers, right? And
Right.
you can freak yourself out and freak yourself out of a job or a position or whatever it is, because you're just like scared. But if you look at it that way, that helps reframe it a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's useful in anything that people do, whether it's regular life or business. It's a very useful information, very useful tip for sure.
Well, thank you.
Yes. I have loved all of these thoughts, these 10 tips that you've shared with us today I think are going to be very, very useful to our listeners, because there's nuggets in here. There's gold nuggets sprinkled throughout this entire podcast. Is there anything that we haven't touched on today that you would love our listeners to know?
Yeah, I mean, the important thing is, if you're an entrepreneur, if you are building a business, to really, the biggest thing is to not give up, to believe in yourself, and to believe that what you're doing is something that's going to change the world. And it's, being an entrepreneur myself, there's days where you just don't want to get out of bed, and it's okay. Give yourself some grace. I think it's really important to do that, and also know that you will have those days where you'll win. And so please, give yourself the grace and the space to grieve, but also that know that there's better days.
Yeah. I love that. Grace and space. That's wonderful. Well, Evan, if our listeners would like to get in touch with you, how can they do so?
Sure. They can just go to luxhammer.com. I have all my contact info on there, or they can follow me at luxhammer LLC on Instagram.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Evan, for being on our episode today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And thank you to all of our listeners. And we will see you here again on The Confident Entrepreneur.